Well, happy Friday. I know I know myself. Happy for this Friday. I enjoyed the summer. Got to spend more time with my kids. Well, one of them anyway. The other one is a lot older, so not as much time. But I love the time I get to spend with them. But this summer's been brutally hot. Like, it is crazy. But with that being said, I was on a Christian Live, just a few minutes ago, listening to the guy preach, and there's more trolls than normal, and it was just if you, I think it applies, both ways. Like, if you don't agree with the live, and you don't want to have an honest conversation, then you really should just keep scrolling. Like, there's no need to be ugly and disrespectful and all that nonsense. And so I made the comment, and I believe it, that those who seek God, you will hear him talk to you if you're listening. But if you don't seek the Lord, you have your own agenda, you're really not seeking him, you're not going to hear him, and you're sure not going to understand his word. You're going to be confused, you're going to have your own understanding, and you're never going to understand what was meant, the way it was meant. That's why the Lord spoke in parables. And so after I made that, this gentleman, I've seen him before, he trolls in Christian Lives, but he said okay, and he called me a queen. And I prayed for him. I didn't get mad. Honestly, I've been sitting here laughing. I just found it amusing, how mad people get when, as Christians, we go on our own lives and we speak what we feel. I get, people are atheists for their own reasons, that maybe they've been through something horrible or a prayer wasn't answered. And, I get, if you don't have a strong Christian foundation and, people that are, there to help you build up and stay close to the Lord, it'll break you. It'll definitely make you turn from the Lord. I've been there. And to me, I pray for everybody every day. Right now in the midst of all these problems that are starting to pop up, and I was starting to stress out, but then I've done what I normally wouldn't do. I started praying about it, and at the end of the day, my name on here, I put sign dubio, which is Latin. And there's a song from the 90s it's a Christian song, and the guy is singing about having no doubt that